Okay, Ruth, can you hear me? You could start.
Okay. Regina Celi, letare, alleluia. Quia quem meruisti portare, alleluia. Resurrexit, sicut dixit, alleluia. Alleluia. Ora pro nobis Deum, alleluia. Gaude, gaude, et letare. Alleluia, alleluia, Regina Celi, letare, alleluia.
We light this fire, reminding our own selves of your divine spark within us. The community of Chartres, the sounds, the vowels, the syllables, comprising your prayer, your outward expression for our surrender, for our acceptance, for our embrace of the shadow. We become one sacred word of prayer, of creation. Ah, Mama. Oh, I know. Amen.
Thank you, Apila. I thank you, Ruth. I thank you, everyone, for joining us on this beautiful April spring day. We have a very full program today. We welcome all of you to our Sacred Heart of Chartres and to our community call that we convene the second Sunday of every month, year-round, as we remember our pilgrimage to Chartres each July, as we open ourselves to the divine feminine, as we greet each other as a community, as we traverse this ongoing pandemic that has been such a challenge to the entire human race in all kinds of ways. It's been through Chartres and through the Great Mother that we have garnered strength and supported each other and quickened our spirits as a community. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. Today we're going to first hear from Lynn Bell, an astrologer who will give us the latest planetary alignments. We will then hear from Andrew Harvey about the major event that he's planning with Eve Ensler in May. He'll also be later talking about the pilgrimage, the virtual pilgrimage to South India, because it's not possible for any of us to travel at the moment. And then after Andrew speaks, we'll talk a little bit about the summer program. And then we want to welcome all of your comments. You may remember last April, this was a community sharing call. So we want to hear from you about whatever you're feeling, any thoughts or suggestions you have for our summer program, so we can fine tune it in any way that you're recommending, because all of what we do is about how we build our community, how we continue to infuse what we're doing within the sacred embrace of the divine feminine. So we want to hear from you, and you can put your comments either in the chat or at the time we'll bring you on to the presenters panel, and you can speak directly to the community. And then we'll close with a benediction from Apila. So thank you, everyone. And now we'll commence our program with Lynn Bell. Lynn, welcome from the countryside of France.
Okay, I should be here again. Thank you, Jim. And I just wanted to say that when the music began, when Ruth's singing began, my cat came in from the other room, jumped on my chair, almost stood up, and as soon as the singing stopped, she left. So thank you, Ruth. I think this past cycle, I wasn't with you on the call and last time because I was teaching elsewhere. And these Sunday meetings are connecting to the new moon very powerfully. We have a new moon in Aries in 10 hours. So tonight for some of you and tomorrow morning for me. And I just want to talk for a minute about the cycle that's closing, because I think for many people that I observed, and for myself, it was a cycle where there was an awareness of loss. I personally lost two very close friends, one I'd known for 51 years and another for 45 years. I found out within 24 hours. And this cycle ended with the news of Prince Philip's death after 73 years of marriage. And I think whatever you think of British royalty, whether you pay attention or not, everyone can feel the wrenching of our ties to others, that pulling and uprooting of the way we're connected to other human beings that's happened in this last cycle. And at the same time, with so many people, particularly in the US and Britain, getting vaccinated and feeling life is coming back, friends of mine getting on airplanes, Apila, I think, this ability to go somewhere and to start anew has also been in this cycle. Now, this new moon that's coming is in Aries. And at first glance, Aries is always about the new beginning, the green fuse that lights the fire of life in the Northern Hemisphere. The sun is conjunct Venus, and both Jupiter and Mars are making really supportive sextiles to the new moon. So it looks, wow, we come alive again. We brave the world and step into it. Everybody is on the verge of going out and opening up. And so this is great news. And yet there are two, maybe three things I would draw your attention to. One is that the new moon is also conjunct Eris. Now, you may not have heard of Eris. Eris is a dwarf planet, and it's partly because of her that the astronomers demoted Pluto. In mythology, Eris was the uninvited guest. She's the equivalent of the 13th fairy. There was a wedding, and someone forgot to invite her because she was kind of like the, she's kind of like the old cranky aunt who wears black and tells you bad news, all the bad news, and everybody who's died. And so somehow she was forgotten on the guest list. And she came to the wedding, and sort of to revenge herself, she brought this golden apple, and she threw the golden apple at the feet of the gods and said, "To the fairest." And the three goddesses all went to pick it up. And Hera and Athena and Aphrodite. And this, of course, is the beginning of the Trojan War, for those of you who know the story, that this inability to decide who was the fairest came with the choosing of a young man who was then asked to say, who is the fairest? And the prize he got for choosing Aphrodite was Helen of Troy, who was married to someone else. So this new moon has Venus. It has this joy and this incredible aliveness, but it also has the apple of discord, of strife. Aries is the goddess of strife, thrown in there in the middle. So it's not all gorgeous. At the same time, the new moon is conjunct Aries and Venus. It's square Pluto. And Pluto, of course, means that there is something else coming up, another struggle. The discord will deepen and intensify what people love, what people want, what people go towards wholeheartedly, but also may tend to divide the camps, different camps, more intensively. So it's something to be aware of, because there's a very powerful, almost impulse to move it forward. Just let the energy come through, but what's coming through with it could be more than we bargained for. I had a dream last night of an auroch. An auroch is the oryx with giant curved horns. And the auroch was moving towards me, and I wanted to open a door to let it through. And behind it was this whole crowd of creatures. And I thought, oh, maybe that's more than I can deal with. And I think this dream is very much, it's a personal dream, and it's also about the rushing forward energy of the new moon. And one last, now, as the month moves forward, as we get towards the end of April, when the sun moves into Taurus in about 8 days, Mars and Mercury and Venus will also both change signs at the same time. And there is a sense of a harmony coming. And then, however, very quickly, the planets will activate the Saturn-Uranus, this very powerful push-pull, go back, hold back, stay contained, move forward, grab your freedom, no, not yet, at the end of the month. So there's still a lot going on this month, but the joyous energy of aliveness and the faith in that opening, I think, is what's dominating in this cycle, even though the other energies are there. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Lynn. It's amazing as you were saying that, over the past time that we're just finishing, there's been a feeling of loss. I've been feeling loss, and I didn't quite know why, but hearing what you're telling It's all, just reminds me just how sensitive all of us are to the planetary movements.
Mm.
And,
Yeah.
bearing in mind the exuberance of the moon and the springtime, and yet strife within the larger context of the Saturn-Uranus opposition. You can just feel it playing out in politics. You can see it playing out in the world. You can see it playing out in all of our psyches, both individually and collectively. And so I really appreciate your ongoing insights into our deep relationship with the larger ecosystem, not just of planet Earth, but of the solar system and the Milky Way. We're in it.
Yeah, we are. And one of the reasons that loss was so much a part of the last cycle was that the new moon was conjunct Neptune. And Neptune has to do with that surrender to what is going away or what's leaving us. And here, where I am in the French countryside, a week ago, it was the warmest March on record, and everything was in flower. And there's a beautiful 50-foot magnolia tree, and then this really hard frost came, and basically in some parts of France, all the fruit trees have died because it was too warm, too fast. And so the issue, there's that hope, and then and we're in this kind of a breathing right now, and I think we can all feel it.
Yeah.
And we can't forget the suffering that's still occurring, I think, even as we feel that desire to rush forward.
Yeah. Well, that's at the heart of the pandemic. We want to go forward, and yet it keeps putting us back into lockdown. It's an amazing synchronicity. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And now, everyone, we want to turn to Andrew. You all know Andrew, our dear Andrew, who's been with us since creation of the university and since the creation of the Chartres Academy, year after year after year. And we wanted to bring him on this beautiful spring day to talk about what he's planning with Eve Ensler. Eve's not with us today, but she'll be on Humanity Rising with Andrew in a few weeks' time, and then possibly during our summer program. But Andrew is developing something so wonderful with her around the revolution of the mother in late May, that we thought it would be wonderful to share that with our community so that we can all participate in it, because Eve Ensler is such an extraordinary presence in contemporary culture, art, and society. So Andrew, welcome, as always. We love you and look forward to hearing from you now on the revolution of the mother.
Well, hello, everybody, and so much love to you all in this absolutely amazing and astounding and terribly difficult time. And I just wanted to begin by congratulating Apila on her new book, because it really is a wonderful book, and I had the honor to read it and blurb it. So everybody watch out for it, because if you're interested and passionate about the revolution of the mother, how can we have that revolution without founding our revolution on indigenous wisdom? And Apila's book is a wonderful display of that, and very accessible and very profound. So bless you, Apila, and congratulations. It's very difficult to describe my great friend V, formerly known as Eve Ensler. And she is truly a soul sister of mine, someone whom I love with my whole being, because we met in very extraordinary circumstances for the first time. We met when she was really facing death. She was going through a horrific cancer, and she was flayed and completely naked and completely vulnerable and completely open. And I took a tremendous chance at that first meeting, because I knew that what she was facing would require from her to plunge deeply into her dawning divine awareness and to identify that what she was facing was a very severe dark night experience. Because I've been through my own 10-year dark night, I just summoned up all my courage and I said, Eve, she was called Eve then, I believe this is what you're going to face, and this is what it really means. So hang in there and cling to the divine within you and never let it go. And I believe that you will be healed, and not only healed, but you'll be transformed, because your time has come to be born into the next level of your evolutionary destiny. You've already done such astounding things, but so much more lies ahead for you. And then I accompanied her as she went through the horror that followed. And she just exemplified the most astounding naked courage. I've never seen anybody face what she faced with such guts, such honesty, such refusal to indulge in any kind of magical thinking or illusion, but such absolutely indomitable passion to live and be changed. And she came out of it not different, because she's always had unbelievable brilliance, unbelievable passion, unbelievable guts. She will say anything that she believes and not care what anybody feels about it, because she is absolutely wedded to her own scalding and incandescent truth in a way that just takes my breath away. But she came out of it absolutely dedicated to pour her whole life out to help build a new world out of the ashes of the old. And if you've read her astounding memoir, In the Body of the World, which is an account of her journey through cancer and also how it led her to co-create a city of joy for 300 half-destroyed women destroyed by the horrors of what the Congo Civil War had done to them, and rebuild them and be bathed in their great joy and resilience, you'll know what I mean. That journey that V's been on has continued, and I've had the privilege as her soul friend to accompany her in it. And it's continued in a series of absolutely astounding openings to the mother. And the mother has clearly selected this wild and ferocious and brilliant and loving woman to be one of her most spectacular and most raw and most naked messengers. And it's been an unbelievable privilege for me to try and help her, try and feed her the books that she might be deeply excited by, listen to her and learn from her vast awakenings. And so as we became closer and closer and closer, I realized what a wonderful thing it would be if we brought together our very similar, differently toned visions of the mother. I, as a gay man whose whole life has been in service of the divine feminine and longs to get over the message of the great revolution that the mother is now doing on the earth, and her as this global figure who has been the champion of 1 billion women rising, 1 billion women rose, and my God, hundreds of things changed all over the earth because she was wild enough to do that. And this pioneer of very fierce, free, divine feminine consciousness, really calling for a major structural rehaul of all of our institutions and ways of being and doing everything, and calling for it with scalding, truthful passion. I felt how fabulous it would be if I took the risk of jumping into the room with her and together forging a program on that revolution of the mother that is the obsession of all of many people's lives, and especially of mine and hers. And she was thrilled, and I was thrilled. And we've been spending weeks now trying to hone exactly what we're going to do. And what we're going to do is to truly help each other get out as exalted and as realistic and as practical and as challenging a vision of the revolution of the mother as possible. I'm going to listen to her for 20 minutes and then interview her. She's going to listen to my journey and then interview me. And then we're going to come together and give a vision both of how the mother is helping the human race through tragedy and the dark night to evolve to another level of divine embodiment, and exactly what we who are in the middle of this evolutionary dark night, what we need to align with, what we need to give up, what we need to cling to, what we need to aspire to, what we need to infuse and enthuse ourselves with to be able to be strong enough and luminous enough and passionate enough and committed enough to be the mother's warrior midwives, the warrior midwives of a new reality. And in our 4 sessions, we're going to end with our mutual visions of sacred activism. Eve is one of the world's greatest global sacred activists, respected and adored all over the planet. And the work that I've done on sacred activism has started a global movement. And we're going to bring our various worlds together and open them up to everybody to join in at this crucial moment where we need to strengthen ourselves in the mother's grace, allow her to break our hearts open and our minds open and our souls open and illumine and invigorate our bodies so that we can be born into that next level of our power, so that we can come together in the unified force field of her divine passion to create out of the ashes of the burning old world the beginnings of a new civilization and a new world. So that's our unambitious vision for the time that we're going to spend together. And because we're both doing it out of love for the mother, we decided to give all of the resources that come in. We've priced it very low, but we want to give scholarships to those who can't afford it. And we want to give all the money to causes and people who are doing the mother's revolutionary work. So we're hoping for a tremendous crowd. And we're hoping that by doing it in this celebratory way and giving everything to the mother's work, we will be really walking our own talk, but also giving funds to people who desperately need it, because as everybody knows listening to this, nearly all the people doing amazing work in the world are doing it on a fraying shoestring. And this is something that Eve and I are pledged to do whatever we can to end, because those beautiful revolutionaries of the mother who are already in place, risking their lives, giving their energy to create a new world, they need your and my help. And that's what we're hoping to model. I've had also the passion to bring V into the Ubiquity family and into the Chartres family. I think she would be the most wonderful addition to us, because although she's so famous and so out there, she's also the most tender-hearted and collegial person. She has great respect for other human beings and their expertise. And she can add her wild global voice to our voices, and we can give her something and hold her and encourage her as she goes to this next level of her evolutionary destiny, as she goes through the fires of the revelations that are coming to her. So this marriage that's taken place in our hearts, I hope will take place in the relationship of Ubiquity and Chartres with V, so that we can be gathering those people who are doing global work, who need spiritual and mystical support, but who can also offer the messages that we're giving, which are crucial for the future, a larger megaphone. It's a beautiful marriage, and I cannot wait for its increasing and evolving consummations. And I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Andrew. Why don't you say a bit about the date? I think it's the 19th through the 21st of May.
It's 19th through the 21st. It's on my website, andrewharvey.net. Do plunge in. If you can't afford to come, please just fill in the form for the scholarships. We'd be very happy to give you one. If you can afford it, just know that your money is going to go to a whole slew of amazing causes, and that it will not only invigorate and illumine you, I hope, but also allow you to give to those who really need cash and support at this moment.
And then we're going to have Andrew and V, as she's now called, on Humanity Rising live on the 5th of May for a dialogue between the two of them about this Revolution of the Mother event, and then we'll be promoting it. And then we're hopeful that in Dialectica in early July, we can have Andrew and V with us. But we'll be saying more about that. So Andrew, thank you very much. I want to hear from you just in a moment about the summer program. And in fact, why don't we just start from that, because we want to now segue everyone to talking about our summer program, and then hearing from any of you that want to share anything you want to tell us about, the desires and aspirations that you have from our community and what we can be providing you. We're doing the best that we can. We thought that the meta theme, given the fact that we're still in this extraordinary pandemic, that seems like Lynn was sharing about the planetary alignments and this dichotomy, this opposition of wanting to move forward and yet being held back. It continues with us now well over a year that we've been in some form of lockdown, engaging in physical distancing, and really challenged as individuals, as community, as nations, as the human race, as to how we're going to move forward with this, with upwards of 15, 20 million dead now around the world, and rates going up, certainly in the United States and in Europe, and the vaccinations aren't working out like they were promised to. There's all kinds of side effects. And I would just add, there's a preponderance of side effects with women, far more than men, and also death rates far more than men. So we need to really be mindful and cautious. And so we thought that our contribution to what we're doing here could be around kind of this meta question of relationship in a time of COVID, how we're relating to the environment, how we're relating to the pandemic, how we're relating to each other when we're in lockdown and we can't even greet each other with hugs and kisses or handshakes anymore. How are we navigating this? How are we restructuring that very basic human need for connection? And we've been forced in a very short period of time to do everything we're doing on Zoom. And that's working out unexpectedly in ways that we never imagined. We're finding that it's actually okay.
Yes.
And yet there's still the need to hug each other, to kiss each other, to be with each other, to break bread with each other, to sit across a table from each other and just engage in that very natural human interactivity that constitutes what it means to be human, because we're all social beings. So that's why with Dialectica, we thought that we would engage in this dialectic. That's what the second liberal art is. It's around the second chakra. How do you relate to your opposite? And how we wanted to refract that, given world conditions, is around gender and sexuality that are going through a revolutionary change, and equally fundamentally around race and ethnicity. You know, how do we relate to the other? Because in some extraordinary way, in the midst of the pandemic, it was the death of George Floyd, 9 minutes and 24 seconds under the knee of Derek Chauvin, whose trial is unfolding in Minneapolis, as most of you know, that caught the attention of the entire world. More people protested in response to the death of George Floyd than any other event in human history. And somehow, the issue of race, the issue of how we relate to difference, is up for humanity. So we're taking that second liberal art, and we want to immerse it in the rituals and the initiation of a dialectica, because we're going to be virtually in Chartres, and we're going to be having our opening ceremony, and we're going to having the invocations from Apila, and we'll be virtually walking the labyrinth and going into the crypt and having this initiatory process together. But we also, within that sacred container, want to really delve into the issues of relatedness around these fundamental categories of gender and ethnicity that are challenging the human race everywhere in the world so powerfully. And as I said, we're hopeful that Andrew and V will be able to join us, because V, as you know from the Vagina Monologues and her other works that have been so powerful about self and body, she's very eager to collaborate with us. And then we're going to move to South India, to the temples of Tantra, the playing grounds of Shiva, with Andrew, because we thought that is another experience in the other. And within the context of being in India, we would explore humanity's relationship with the divine. Again, the basic relatedness. So Andrew, why don't you take a few minutes to talk about it? I'll put up the link to Dialectica so you can all see it. And while Andrew's talking, I'll put up the link to the pilgrimage in late July to South India. But Andrew, take a few minutes and just talk about your passion for Shiva and the tantric temples of India, from whence you come.
Thank you so much. Look, I was born in South India. I was born in a place called Coimbatore on June the 9th, 1952. And the whole of my life has been suffused by that. And it's very strange to tell you this, but in fact, all of the major revelations of my life and everything that has fed my work has happened in South India. It is my birthing ground on many, multiple levels. So it's a great thrill for me to be able to invite you virtually to 4 astonishing places. And before I tell you a little bit about the pilgrimage, I'm going to really go straight to the heart of why I think it is so important. I think we're going through an evolutionary crisis. I think what's happening is that the human race is being plunged into a global dark night, and that we're given, through that global dark night, one final opportunity to embody the divine at a much deeper level, so as to be transfigured into what will essentially be a new species, a species of embodied divine human beings coming together to co-create a new world. And I think that the Mother has organized this with lethal and terrible and amazing and grace-filled precision to fulfill the long dream within the divine heart mind, to see us unified in heart, mind, soul, and body, and able through that unity to act with divine intelligence and divine grace-filled power to recreate the world. And all my work is dedicated to that birth. But I learned about that birth in South India, because the places that I'm going to take you to are places where different facets of this birth of the divine human have been celebrated now for centuries. Because at the heart of South Indian Shaivism, as I will share with you in great detail when we get to Chidambaram, the core of the mystery, at the heart of Shaivism was not simply a great devotion to the divine as Shiva. That, of course, was fundamental, but was also a deep and amazing understanding that tremendous and total devotion to the golden dancer that's worshipped in Chidambaram would transfigure you in heart, mind, soul, and body into your own golden dancer, and so build a new race. So we're taking a journey into South India, but we're also taking a journey into large glowing revelations of our own evolutionary destiny through seeing it in the mirror of the grandeur and beauty and nobility and splendor of what South India offers. So we start in Mahabalipuram, which is a funky village on the side of the sea, but in the 8th century was the port of the great Pallava Empire. And the Pallavas were enlightened Shaivites who had this evolutionary vision and who carved out of golden rock, because this is a process of engoldenment, living images of what the world would and could be if everybody allowed the great transformation to take place. So we go to Mahabalipuram, we look at the leaves of that great golden sculptured book to get from it, as I have gotten from it over 40 years of meditation on these sculptures, immense inspiration for the moment that we find ourselves in, and immense hope for what could be created if we allowed this great engoldenment process that is God's potential gift to us in this time to take place. So reeling away from the gorgeousness of Mahabalipuram, we go to Pondicherry. And in Pondicherry, we go to the tomb and the ashram of the world's greatest evolutionary pioneer, the greatest mystical philosopher of evolution the world has ever had, Sri Aurobindo, the Plato of evolution. And I would try and convey to you just how radical and amazing, but how grounded in this ancient vision Sri Aurobindo is and was, and give you a taste of what he opened up for us. He knew exactly where we were going, to the crisis that we are now in. But he knew that that crisis wasn't just simply a manifestation of our own madness, greed, and hubris. It was also as a result of a great new evolutionary light that was coming in and pressing out the darkness so as to enable us to integrate it and learn from it and be transformed by our reactions to it. Then, after this, we will go to the heart core of the great mystery of the Golden Shiva. We go to Chidambaram, which for 1,400 years has been the place where the Shaivite saints and the siddhas and the great masters and the great mystics went to be directly, nakedly initiated by Shiva himself. And it is a glorious temple. But what I will try and share with you are the deep esoteric meanings of the worship of the Golden Shiva through a particular poet who gives us in his hymns some of the great clues to transfiguration. It's very amazing stuff, and it's stuff that's directly relevant to where we are now. Then I will sketch a little of what Bede Griffiths, the great Christian mystic who was being transfigured consciously at the end of his life into this next level of human evolution, the secrets he gave me. That will be the second half of that third transmission. And then we will end at the sacred mountain of Arunachala in Tiruvannamalai, the descended fire lingam that is now a mountain, the most sacred place for Shaivites in India, with Kailash, which is in Tibet. And that place has for thousands of years housed the great siddhas, the great masters. They've gone to the caves on that mountain to acquire and be illumined and enlightened. And the greatest of them in the 20th century was a man called Ramana Maharshi. And so we will end with the teachings and the example and the presence of Ramana Maharshi, so that by the end of this journey, you will have taken a journey into amazing beauty and ravishing, strange visions, but you'll also have taken a journey into the possibilities for yourself, that this golden world of the dancing Shiva that I was born into have kept alive for us to be given in their fullest, most naked splendor right now when they are most needed. So that's why I'm so thrilled to be able to offer you this pilgrimage into your possible embodied divine evolutionary future.
Thank you, Andrew. It's going to be so extraordinary moving from the sacred chalice of Chartres to the sacred chalice of Shiva in the way that you describe. And as only someone like you, born and reared in that sacred place, could provide us.
Thank you.
And I've put the links up to both Dialectica and to South India in the chat, so you can access those. And then we're going to finish the summer with Madonna Rising, and which is the other pillar of the Chartres Academy. Banafshe, why don't you tell us what you have in mind for Madonna Rising, and maybe say even a word about the rose circles, which we've started now under your aegis on the equinoxes and the solstices.
Thank you. Yeah, from the glory of South India, we'll come back to Chartres for Madonna Rising and explore the revolution of the mother that Andrew was talking about, in terms of what does that mean for our relationships, healing our relationships, healing our broken and wounded relationships, coming into the field, the healing field of Chartres. And around the time of the Assumption of Mary, around the time where we get to claim how matter and spirit are united, and within ourselves come in touch with this unity, this union of body and soul, truly, truly embodying the light of the soul. So within this field, what does it mean for our relations, for our relatedness, especially the broken ones? How can we bring healing to these relationships? And through singing with Ruth, listening to her beautiful music, listening to Anne Baring's great wisdom, and doing sacred theater with Peggy Rubin, and also movement and dancing with me, walking the labyrinth, and also listening to Andrew, listening to Jim, who will join us as well, coming together in this field where we can bring healing to ourselves, to our relations. And the rose circles that you mentioned, we began the first one, that was on spring equinox. I think it was beautiful, with Ruth, Peggy, and Anne Baring. And we'll do the next one on the summer solstice. So we're meeting 4 times a year at the equinoxes and the solstices to explore the symbol of the rose and awaken the rose within our hearts. But now, because we have not a lot of time left, I'd like to just continue from what Jim had brought up in the beginning and really open up our circle here to get reflections and comments from you. What do the summer programs inspire you? You know, last year when we had to shapeshift the in-person pilgrimages to Chartres and elsewhere, we went to France, the southern part of France last year. Because we had to shapeshift these events, these pilgrimages, we came together as a community and reflected on what is the best way to move forward. So we want to do that again, because this year is, again, the situation is that we need to meet on Zoom. So we want to hear back from you. Do these programs, these 3 programs, do they inspire you? What would you like to explore more? How would you, what do you recommend we add? So if you would like to put your suggestions in the chat or raise your hand and you can speak, we will unmute you. So please let us know. Let's reflect as a community.
Yes, you all know how to raise your hand. It's on the bottom of your Zoom screen with a little hand, so you can raise your hand and we'll see if anybody wants to comment that way, or you can just put a question in the chat that we can respond to.
Yes, there is a comment from Anne Sayes saying, would it be possible to have dream circle every day?
Oh yes, in Dialectica we'll be doing as we always do in Dialectica, we'll be doing dreams with Apila. Obviously, when it's virtual, it's a little more challenging than being there in the Saint Etienne room, there in the Maison Saint-Yves. But we'll definitely have dreams as part of the Dialectica program. Dreams are so crucial. During the pandemic, there's been even scientists have noted that people's dreams have become more acute and more frequent. And Apila over the last 6-9 months has done a number of dream sessions, special dream sessions for the community, as you all know. And it may be, Apila, we should think about doing something again in the lead up to Dialectica to just get people in a preparatory modality. Do you want to say something about the dreams?
I like the idea of doing something preparatory, Jim. And the thing that was it always happens, and I wonder why I don't see it when it is happening. But we had so many predictions or preparations or prophetic dreams in the years before, particularly the year before the pandemic hit. We had a dream of 19 black dresses, and the Chartres dreams have the ability to do just profound things in our lives. People have gotten healed, people dream for each other, and it brings us just an intimate community with each other, these unmediated messages from the beyond. And as a community, we're able to receive large, powerful messages that individually we probably could not probably, individually we can't, but collectively we can and we do. So yes, let's do a preparatory dream session, Jim, and we will also do it in Dialectica. And let's dream our way out of this hell and horror that we've been through, please.
Yes, dreaming our way out of the horror of the pandemic, and that's one of the pathways. You remember last year in Grammatica, we built this around the theme of trauma and transformation, and every day we discussed some of the traumas we were all going through, and then one of the pathways to transformation, and one of those was the power of dreams. So I want to encourage all of you to be attentive to your dreams. as Pila is encouraging. And we'll circle back. Thank you for that question. We'll circle back with a proposal for how we can start to develop our dream work leading up to Dialectica. And there's been some other comments on embodiment and the importance of embodiment. And we had that in Grammatica too. We had Banafsheh give us a whole session on embodiment, as she so exquisitely does. Banafsheh, do you want to say something about that?
Well, Madonna Rising will be doing more embodiment and dance, of course. Dialectica, I wasn't going to be a part of that, but maybe if that's what people want, we can think about it. There was a question about breakout sessions. Yes, we will have those. Yeah, and the importance of the wisdom that is being shared, to embody them, to really bring them into our felt experience through movement, is what is very important to me, and that's what I'm dedicated to. So for sure, in Madonna Rising, that is very central for that offering, especially given that we're exploring the revolution of the mother, the reemergence of the divine feminine in all that we do, all that we feel and act. So embodiment becomes very important, and especially sacred dance, through sacred dance. There was also a question about, in 2022, our plan is to go back to Chartres. Right, Jim? We have plans to be back in Chartres in 2022.
Yeah, we had plans to be there last year. We had plans and had reservations to be there this year, because remember last year we all thought the pandemic would be over probably by the fall or winter at the latest, and it's kept on going. So we had very regretfully to cancel with the Maison Saint-Yves yet again for 2021. But we have reservations already in place for 2022, and it's our prayer and deep hope that we can gather again personally and physically in that sacred place. So this is why we wanted to hear from you around the summer programs. Because they're virtual, we can shape shift almost right up to the last minute. So we're going to start thinking about dreams. I'll start to think about how we include embodiment in Dialectica with Banafsheh, and how we can make it more communal. For the pilgrimages, they're going to be on Zoom meeting. This is more of a webinar format where there's presentations, but during the Dialectica and South India and Madonna Rising, they'll be in the Zoom format where everybody can see everybody all the time. And that can be done very comfortably for groups under 100. And we'll probably be having just about that number. So we'll be breaking people into small groups and interacting as much as sort of technically possible, given the constraints of Zoom. We won't be able to go out to the cafes, or dance or be together physically, but we'll do everything we can to make it a communal experience as we interact. Certainly with Dialectica, it's all going to be dialogue. Dialectic, dialogue. That's what Plato talked about. That's at the heart of the Chartres experience, is the dialogic quality of human interaction, which we'll be building in around these very important themes.
Do we have time for to hear from Vivian and Kala? They have their hands up.
Sure.
Do you have time?
Oh, its mic is open.
Kala?
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, missing humanity. Is it possible for us maybe in the summer to have 1 or 2 gatherings, those who have already maybe had vaccines by then, maybe like something out in the desert? I know the California desert, or up on Mauna Kea or something. I don't know, somewhere to have some kind of a gathering of the people who would be able to or who would like to, and maybe make that virtual as well as being in humanity. Out near Yucca in the desert, the we would have enough space to space each other and then at least maybe gather as in our human forms.
Well, Apila and I have been in conversation about actually meeting in Chartres if the pandemic subsides enough, if not in the summer, then possibly in the fall for at least a small group of us. I'm thinking of possibly going over there for Dialectica. You may remember I just couldn't stay away. I had to be in Chartres last July. So I was there during Grammatica and may do it again just for my own personal soul growth and healing. But yes, that impulse to bring people physically together is very important, particularly now that so many of us are getting the vaccines. And within that context, I would just answer, was a question in the chat box about the comment I was making about women. And that's just the case. We just had a Humanity Rising session on radiation and gender. And if you live around a power plant, you've been exposed to radiation, even lots of x-rays, women have a 2-to-1 sort of damage rate higher than men. And that's true with the endocrine disrupting chemicals. And that's the data that's emerging around the vaccines. That for some reason, I think the fact that women are child givers and birthing is in that biology. Women and children, particularly children in utero, are highly susceptible to chemicals in the body, to radiation in the body, and now to the side effects and the deaths that are occurring around the vaccines. So I would just encourage all women, not that you shouldn't get the vaccine, but just be mindful that's just the data that is emerging after 75 years. So it's very hard data around radiation and nuclear power plants and so forth. And that's the data that's emerging on the vaccine front. Again, it's not to say that people should not get the vaccine, but it's just that we should be mindful of the facts that are accumulating around the side effects and some of the death rates. So that's on the vaccines. But Vivian, why don't you come on and have a comment, and then that's probably enough for today. But Vivian, want to welcome you. Oh, maybe we've lost Vivian.
Jim, there's a question about a virtual pilgrimage to Damanhur. Would you like to say anything about that? That's a great idea.
Well, that's always a joy. We've been to Damanhur 3 or 4 times, our wisdom school. We haven't been for a while, but that's a very good idea.
And not virtually either.
And we've never done it virtually. But thank you for that. Who was that?
Diane, yes?
Diane Waddell. Diane, thank you for that. Let me look into it, and maybe we can circle back for something virtual with Dom and her. All of us know Esperide Ananas from Dom and her. She's a wonderful soul. Falco, the founder of Dom and her, we gave him an honorary PhD, which was extended because he died, to Asperidae. So we have a very, very strong and ongoing long relationship with Dom and her. And that would be a beautiful, beautiful thing to do.
Great
So thank
idea. And there's a lot of people in the chat who also are interested in that. Yes.
Good. Well, consider it done. I'll start to work on that, and we'll plan it maybe in the fall.
Yeah.
That would be beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for all of this.
There's a question about starting earlier. I think that because we've already announced the time, that we will probably keep the time of the pilgrimages. But because they're recorded, you can always watch them at a time that is suitable for you.
Yeah.
And the watch party idea is really a good idea as well, for people to watch the sessions together after they've been recorded and discuss. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. This community of Chartres is at the heart of my life, of the Chartres Academy, of our university. I take great solace every month when we meet, and just want to thank each and every one of you. You've gotten great ideas today, from dreams to Dom and her, to more on embodiment. So we'll work all those things in and send out the revised program to everyone over the next couple of weeks as we prepare for our summer programs and for Andrew's Revolution of the Mother with V, the 19th through the 21st of May, and our Humanity Rising session with him and V on May 5th. So thank you, everyone. This has been wonderful. Now, Ruth, will you help close us out with a song, and then Apila will give us a benediction.
Sure. This is a bit of a chant by the great Hildegard of Bingen. O viridissima Virgo, ave quae inventoso flabro citationis sanctorum prodisti. Unde celi dederunt vore super gramen, et omnis terra leta factas est, quoniam viscera ipsius frumentum protulerunt, et quoniam volures celi nidos in ipsa aberunt.
We give thanks this morning for this circle, our Chartrian community. We'll hold in our hearts at this moment on the threshold of change, walking towards the light, the souls of the millions of people who have suffered with COVID, who have left this mortal plane. Let the steps we take, the hands we hold, the love we share, be informed by those passings, by the wisdom imparted in the lives of the people. And Lord, Great Spirit, please help us to integrate what's been shown to us through the shadow, the trauma, the suffering, the terror of the pandemic. Please, please let us change our behavior, love nature, love our bodies, embrace the sound of your prayer through the syllables, through the vowels, through the words that we speak and the lives that we live, all my relations. Ah, Mama. Oh, I know. Amen.
Thank you, Apila. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Banafshe. And thank you, Andrew and Lynn. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month. Bye for now.
Everyone, blessings.
Bye bye, everyone. God bless you.